prove the gradient descent of the function x0, y0 in the direction of v is the gradient of that function at point x0, y0 multiplied by that vector. So these are two vectors, dot product of two vectors. This is the gradient vector, and this is the vector that we move in the direction of this vector in the input space. And we want to see how does this function change if we just move in this direction v. And we will prove this equals to this. But before doing it, we'll go back to the definition of multivariate equations and how do we apply chain rule and how do we calculate derivative at some specific points. For example, let's say we have a function g h. It only depends on the variable h, y. For example, it has two variables in the input space, x0 h v1 and y0 plus h v2. Other than the variable h, everything you see here is just a constant. x0 and y0 are the initial points, and v1 and v2 are the components of the vector that don't change. And when we want to find the derivative at point 0, by definition, we will calculate g h plus 0 minus g0 divided by h, and limit h goes to 0. And this is simply gh g0 divided by h, limit goes to 0. And then we plug in this function into its place, and we get g derivative at 0 equals to gx0 plus h v1 y0 h v2 minus gx0 y0 divided by h, limit h goes to 0. And as you can see, this equation simply is the equation of the gradient descent, and these are the components of the vector that we are moving in the direction of, and these are the starting points, and it's the point that from which we want to find the direction. And we can also do this. Zero h v2. So it has two variables in the input space, but those two variables also depend on some variable h, and this is just a classic problem of multivariate equation, multivariate derivation, and then the variable x is x0 h v1, and the variable y is y0 plus hv2. And how do we find a derivative of such a function at point h? The answer is simple. We will use a chain rule, but we will not go into the details of the chain rule. If you want to learn about the chain rule more, you can just search on the YouTube and find dozens of videos about it. So the formula for multivariate function, it's simply a g, the derivative of f with respect to h is derivative of f d dx dh plus derivative of f with respect to y divided by dy dh. This is simply this gh. And what does it mean? It means we find the derivative of x with respect to h, and here we find the derivative of y with respect to h. And we said that these are 0 in our case because we are only interested in g0, so it will be 0. So we will have x equals to x0, y equals to y0, right? y0. Then it will become x0 plus y0.